How did I get my first job? Hmm, sounds like an interesting video. Let's do it. So, I kind of had lots of odd jobs before this. I had delivering papers and then working on trains and then driving a bus and all these other odd jobs, which kind of just temporary contract jobs that weren't permanent. This is about the first permanent job I had. And I got out of college. I got out of college with a geology degree, which, let me tell you, taking a geology degree was probably the dumbest decision of my life. Yes, it killed 3 years when I couldn't work, and it's probably a bad thing because you wanna work as much as possible. And I had these odd jobs working as a bus driver when I was doing a geology degree, which didn't pay at all. I just got to use a bus, but it didn't pay me any money. So I was kind of out of this geology degree, and I was sitting on my butt wondering, what the heck do I do now? I have a degree which is completely useless. And that's the first tip for this video, kids. Use that thing before you study for a degree. Degree is 3 years out of your life. Getting a degree in geology, prehistoric animals and dinosaurs and stuff, and shellfish and all the other stuff we have to study for geology is not a real smart move. It was a terrible move on my part. It was an absolutely appalling move. Get a degree in something which will actually make money after you graduate. Geology, I think about 10% of people make money after they graduate in geology. Most of us obviously aren't in that 10%. So we're I kind of had to find something though. So I just looked for everything. And this was back in the late 90s. There weren't many job boards around or any of these online things. Wasn't much of that going on. When there was, you had to use a dial up internet to get to it. So it was a pain in the butt to go on these job boards. A few that were around. I think Monster was around, a few others around back then, but there wasn't many very good job boards. So it was a case of looking in the newspaper every day and looking at jobs. And I remember, man, one time I was walking around town in the pouring rain, soaking wet, knocking on the door of basically recruitment agencies, these staffing agencies, asking if, hey, do you have anything? And this one place said, yeah, but we can't talk to you today, we're busy. And I was soaking wet, I was absolutely dripping wet. I never went back to them. They said come back another day. I never went back to them. If someone treats you like that, you don't come back to them. So it was a hard few months. I remember I went to this one thing and it was door to door sales. I was like, I am not a salesperson. I know everybody has to kind of be a salesperson in life, and I have to be kind of a little bit of a salesperson to make these videos, but no, I'm not a door to door salesperson. I'm not going to be bang, bang, bang. Do you want to buy my stuff? No, I'm not gonna do that. That's not my personality. So, that job kind of flunked. They didn't tell me what it was until I showed up and started going hanging out with these guys. And then they told me, "Hey, it's door to door sales." I'm like, no way I'm doing that. So I kept applying to everything I could find, and it was. I went about 6 months, I think, before I finally got a response back from a half decent job. And it was a college up in Birmingham, England, North Birmingham College. They gave me a chance, and this guy called Yoga basically interviewed me, and yeah, okay, we'll give you a chance on working on the computers here and working on the servers here. That gave me the biggest migraine of my entire life on my first day of work. Because yeah, I'm an IT professional now. Okay, I've been doing this for years and years and years. Back then, I had problems knowing one end of a computer from another. Yeah, I could use a word processor and I could use Microsoft Word and Windows and all that stuff, but I didn't know too much about computers, honestly. I was just gonna jump in there and just trying to work it out for myself. And I have this Indian guy in front of me talking about his server and his RAID array and all this stuff, and that does that, and this does this, and there's a switch over there, and there's a switch over there, and there's a router over there, and this, and I'm just my God, my brain's exploding because I don't know any of this stuff. I'm gonna have to pull out the books and do some research here. This is just a nightmare. And he kind of ended it by the way, by the words, oh, by the way, I'm going on vacation in a month. You're gonna be running all this. I'm like, what the? Yeah. So I had to learn fast, and it gave me possibly the worst headache in the world on my first day at work because other than turning on a computer and writing reports from a degree, that's all the experience I had. Now I'm running like probably 1,000 computer network with probably 5,000 users running Novo Netware, and it's like, I don't know any of this stuff. I was so in the deep end on my first day at work. And it's so strange. You know what? One of the first things I did there, gluing locks on computers. I know everybody in cybersecurity right now is going to find that absolutely hilarious. Back in the old days, we valued the price of a computer more than the price of data. That's just so weird. It's flipped the other way around now. We don't care. If you get these days, if you get your laptop stolen at Starbucks or something, we don't care about a laptop. Laptops, $2,000 or something. We care about what data you have on it. Maybe you got a bunch of confidential information in the company. Maybe you have a bunch of socials on it. Maybe you got a bunch of personal information on it. We care about the information on a laptop that's probably worth millions. We don't care about the laptop itself. A laptop's just garbage, but back in the day, yeah, we valued the hardware, even though the hardware was big. You wouldn't know if someone was walking out the door with a desktop under their arm. You could barely carry it on things back then. I think they weighed like 25 pounds or something, and the monitors were huge. But yeah, it was risk reduction, so we were gluing padlocks onto desktops so nobody could walk out the college with a desktop. And it actually did happen. There's an interesting story about that. Just before I started there, Yoga, my boss, was telling me about he showed up to work one day and he was getting his calls that the network was down and everything. And network literally was down. Someone was running down the road with the server. Yeah. So security wasn't as high back then as it is now, and yeah, I guess the door was left unlocked and someone saw a cool looking computer there, and that thing must have weighed like 70 or 80 pounds. I don't know how he got it down the road, but the police tracked it down. Eventually he got his server back. But yeah, cybersecurity back then was really strange. It was all about physical security and nobody cared about the data. And then the internet came along. We can talk about the early internet, I guess. So they used this in an experiment, shall we say, called the internet, which kind of took off a little bit, I guess. So there were two bays that were basically set up with computers, and the one bay was using a microwave link. And we had basically a dish on the roof pointing to the local TV mast, and that was our internet connection. And the other bay was using a cable TV network going off to a local college, and was sharing data with a local college through this cable TV setup. The cable TV setup was even more bizarre, because nowadays you have like a tiny little box and everything. The Xfinity or Comcast or whoever give you, or Conversion give you a tiny little box, you plug in the wall and it's going, not back then. Back then, it was two enormous boxes. One box was on the ceiling. Don't ask why this box, big heavy metal box, was screwed to the ceiling of the data center, but this big heavy metal box was screwed to the ceiling of the data center. So it's just up there. I was like, well, if that thing drops on my head, I'm going to be going to hospital, man. But with the cable connection going into it, and they have another big wire coming out of it into the back of a rack, and there'll be another big, huge ass router in the back of this rack, which would be processing all the internet data. And that's our very early internet connection, was just these two huge boxes and a cable, which then ran all the way down to another college down the street. And then we had the microwave link as well, which went off down to the local TV tower. And then we were experimenting with these. One day, they decided they were going to shut off the microwave link and didn't tell us, and half the computers lost the internet. Just happens. And that was it. Just web browsing. There was no real email or anything they used back then. It was kind of interesting, the early days of all this. And but that's my first job. That's how I got my start, and it taught me the basics. The basics are using your brain, showing up on time, and staying out of trouble. Just do those three. You can do the more advanced stuff when you get to a more advanced level. You can work on your own advanced projects, and you can start your own business and do your own research projects and all that stuff when you get to a more advanced level. But when you're first starting out, just show up every day, do what you're told to do, and try not to gosh darn break anything like I did.